The night air over Ouagadougou hangs heavy with silence, broken only by the distant hum of restless winds weaving through the dust-swept streets. The city, a sprawling mosaic of muted colours and shadowed shapes, lies cloaked beneath an immense, glittering canopy of stars. Somewhere deep in this vast, restless sky, the faint glow of the Milky Way stretches, a reminder of the universe's indifferent grandeur. But here on the ground, in the heart of Burkina Faso's capital, something far more urgent simmers beneath the calm. It is midnight, the hour when the world often holds its breath, when hidden stories quietly unfold. At the outskirts of the city, where the air grows cooler and the night thicker, Ouagadougou International Airport pulses with unusual energy. Normally a place of comings and goings, tonight it feels like the stage of a high-stakes drama, a crucible where history will be forged anew. A convoy of military vehicles, their headlights piercing the darkness like searching eyes, rumbles steadily along the cracked tarmac. Heavy armoured trucks, sleek black SUVs, and jeeps laden with soldiers bearing the insignia of Burkina Faso's armed forces move with a disciplined precision. The convoy forms an unyielding barrier around the VIP runway, cutting it off from any civilian approach. Guards stand alert, rifles ready, faces shadowed beneath helmets. There, parked under the harsh glare of floodlights, sits a French diplomatic jet. Its engines hum softly, but with a latent power, like a coiled serpent ready to strike. The aircraft is unmistakable, sleek, imposing, a symbol of influence and privilege. Diplomatic seals shimmer on its fuselage, and the unmistakable blue, white, and red of France's flag ripple faintly in the breeze. Inside, the diplomats are restless. Their voices murmur behind locked doors, a mix of frustration and arrogance. They argue over immunity, over jurisdiction, over the untouchable rights they believe shield them from scrutiny. But outside, unseen by them, forces are converging with a purpose that will shatter their complacency. In a dimly lit operations room, tucked within the fortified walls of a nearby government building, Ibrahim Traoré stands motionless before a bank of screens. The room is sparse, functional, maps pinned to walls, communication devices crackling quietly, the glow of computer monitors casting sharp shadows on determined faces. Around him, trusted aides work swiftly and silently, their eyes reflecting both urgency and steely resolve. Traore's presence dominates the room, not through loud commands, but through a palpable calm that commands attention. He is a man tempered by struggle, shaped by years of fighting for his country's sovereignty. His jaw is set, brows knit in concentration, eyes burning with a quiet fire. Tonight, everything changes. A voice cuts through the stillness, low and steady. Traore's own, speaking as if confessing a sacred truth into the dark. Tonight, we confront decades of deception and reclaim what is rightfully ours. His words hang heavy in the air, laden with history, with loss, and with an unyielding determination. This is not just a mission, it is a reckoning. Outside the reinforced glass, soldiers move into position, shadows shifting like ghosts in the night. The tension tightens like a drawn bowstring. Every breath is measured, every second counted. The diplomats remain oblivious to the storm gathering just beyond their windows, trapped in their illusions of power and immunity. Inside the plane, voices rise in argument, an embassy official asserting diplomatic protections, another warning of international incidents, a third demanding immediate clearance for departure. Their dialogue is fragmented but urgent, underscored by an undercurrent of fear. They know something is wrong, but they cannot grasp the full extent. Their secrets are about to unravel. Back in the operations room, Traore watches. His gaze flickers briefly to the live feeds streaming from cameras discreetly planted near the runway. Crates and cases stamped with diplomatic seals sit waiting to be loaded onto the jet, silent witnesses to years of hidden transactions. The cameras catch every detail, the seals, the guarded glances of handlers, the careful avoidance of prying eyes. A distant rumble signals the convoy's final approach. Traore straightens, voice calm but edged with steel. "It's time." The soldiers move, encircling the plane with swift, precise coordination. The once bustling runway falls silent beneath the weight of their presence. Diplomats' murmurs turn to confusion, then panic, as soldiers in full gear begin the inspection. The engine's hum lowers, replaced by the crisp commands echoing across the tarmac. Inside, the plane's crew exchanges nervous glances. The diplomatic immunity they have long wielded like a shield now seems brittle, fragile. For the first time in decades, the power dynamic shifts. Burkina Faso asserts its will against the invisible chains of foreign influence. As the night deepens, the scene unfolds like a carefully scripted performance with high stakes. The confrontation between a nation long subdued and the forces that have siphoned its wealth and sovereignty. The air is thick with the unspoken knowledge that this moment is a turning point. The slow, deliberate unveiling of hidden truths will ripple far beyond the runway, sending shockwaves through diplomatic circles and echoing in the hearts of a people hungry for justice. The starry sky above remains unchanged, vast and indifferent. But down here, on this narrow strip of earth, history bends toward a new dawn. Ibrahim Traoré and his team stand poised to reclaim not just gold and documents, but the very soul of a nation, and the world watches, waiting to see what will emerge from the shadows. The first beam of dawn begins to pierce the horizon, pale and hesitant, as the night's tension lingers like a heavy fog over the tarmac. The French diplomatic jet, now immobilized beneath the stern gaze of Burkina Faso's armed forces, becomes the focal point of a painstaking investigation. Outside, the world might see a stalled aircraft and a few soldiers, but inside the confines of this aircraft, beneath layers of protocol and secrecy, lies a trove of revelations that will rewrite the story of a nation's exploitation. The cargo hold door is carefully unlocked. The quiet hum of the engines fades, replaced by the deliberate shuffles of boots on metal steps, and the faint creak of hinges releasing their grip on concealed compartments. A team of soldiers and forensic officers, led by Ibrahim Traoré's most trusted aides, descend into the dim recesses beneath the plane's belly. Their mission is clear: to uncover the truth hidden behind layers of diplomatic immunity and foreign privilege. As the heavy metal door swings open, the first crates come into view, large unmarked wooden boxes chained and sealed with the unmistakable emblem of Burkina Faso. Their surfaces bear the faint scratches of long journeys and countless hands. With gloved hands, the soldiers pry open one of the crates. Inside, a startling sight: rows upon rows of gold bars, each precisely stacked and gleaming faintly in the dull light. Each bar bears an intricate stamp, the national emblem of Burkina Faso, etched deep into its surface. This is no ordinary gold. It is the wealth of a nation, hoarded and hidden away. The sheer volume is staggering, enough to fund generations, enough to rebuild a country, but instead it had been spirited away under the guise of diplomacy. Alongside the gold, crates reveal bundles of foreign currencies: euros, dollars, and francs, tightly bound and meticulously catalogued. These are not mere cash reserves. They are evidence of a sprawling web of bribery, the lubricants of corruption that have allowed foreign powers to entrench themselves within Burkina Faso's political and economic structures. The money whispers stories of secret deals and favors exchanged in shadowed rooms, away from the eyes of the public. But the revelations do not stop at wealth alone. Hidden within smaller containers are confidential dossiers, documents that could unravel decades of exploitation. Detailed maps of covert mining operations stretch across the pages, annotated with coordinates that lead to some of the richest gold veins in West Africa. Blueprints of secret oil fields, buried beneath remote lands, speak of resources siphoned without public knowledge or benefit. And perhaps most alarmingly, classified reports on uranium deposits, their existence carefully concealed from national agencies, hint at yet another layer of foreign manipulation. Traore's team photographs every piece of evidence with meticulous care. Each photo, each document, becomes a testament to the theft of sovereignty. Their faces remain calm, their professionalism unshaken, but beneath it all simmers a profound anger, a righteous fury born from years of watching their homeland's riches vanish into foreign hands. One aide, a woman whose eyes burn with a mix of exhaustion and resolve, whispers without looking up, This changes everything." Traore nods. "It changes the narrative. We no longer plead for recognition. We hold the proof." The atmosphere thickens as more crates are opened, each revealing layers of deceit more insidious than the last. Diplomatic seals, once symbols of untouchable protection, now stand as evidence of a broken system that allowed theft under the guise of international law. The plane, intended as a vessel of diplomatic immunity, has instead become a tomb for stolen treasures and secrets. Throughout the hours, as the sun rises higher, more revelations come to light. Ledgers detailing payments to key political figures, correspondence between foreign mining corporations and local officials, contracts signed under duress or false pretenses, all point to a vast, carefully orchestrated operation designed to keep Burkina Faso subservient. There are moments of silence heavy enough to suffocate. Traore surveys the evidence, understanding the burden it represents. This is not merely a recovery of gold or documents, it is the unveiling of a deep wound inflicted upon the nation's very heart. And with that wound exposed, healing will demand more than just words. It will demand action. Outside the hold, the diplomatic passengers remain confined, their earlier arrogance replaced by growing unease. The weight of the cargo's contents will soon be felt far beyond this isolated airport. Diplomatic immunity, once a shield, now crumbles under the weight of undeniable proof. In the operations room, Traore's voice carries over a secure channel, calm but resolute. "This is our moment. The truth is on our side. We will show the world the cost of their silence." Each photograph taken, each document secured, is more than evidence. It is a weapon in a fight that has spanned generations. The hidden cargo, once a symbol of stolen wealth, is now the cornerstone of a movement that will challenge the very foundations of foreign dominance in West Africa. As the investigation progresses, a slow realization settles over the team. They are no longer just reclaiming gold, they are reclaiming dignity, sovereignty, and hope. Outside, the city begins to stir with the first sounds of morning life. But here, in the shadowed confines of a diplomatic jet, the heartbeat of a nation quickens. The stage is set for the revelations to come, and the world watches, unaware that the very fate of Burkina Faso is being rewritten beneath its feet. The morning sun climbs higher over Ouagadougou, casting harsh, unyielding light across the sprawling tarmac. Yet beneath the glare, within the sealed belly of the diplomatic jet, shadows linger, shadows darker than mere nightfall. Here, hidden compartments whisper secrets of surveillance, manipulation, and betrayal, waiting to be brought into the unforgiving daylight. As Traore's team moves deeper into the cargo hold, their investigation uncovers a trove of technology far beyond anything expected. Behind false panels, inside crates disguised as ordinary shipping containers, lie instruments of modern espionage. Micro-cameras no larger than a grain of rice, capable of recording in near invisibility. Encrypted communication devices designed to intercept conversations across vast distances, and sleek, almost silent drones equipped with advanced surveillance capabilities. These tools reveal an invisible war waged not with guns or tanks but with shadows and signals. A war in which the sovereignty of a nation was quietly dismantled one secret at a time. The discovery is chilling. The presence of such equipment, smuggled aboard under diplomatic immunity, speaks to a far-reaching operation of surveillance, not only targeting Burkina Faso, but extending into neighboring countries and key African institutions. It is a silent invasion, a network of control maintained by foreign powers through manipulation and intimidation. Traore watches the evidence accumulate with a hardening gaze. Each piece of technology is a reminder of the price paid for independence. The tools are meant to infiltrate homes, offices, and government buildings, to record whispers, track movements, and control narratives. They are weapons of a war fought in silence and shadows. As the team documents the devices, further compartments are revealed. Folders and binders emerge, filled with forged identities and false passports. Names and faces that do not exist, but whose presence is embedded deeply within diplomatic circles and foreign missions. These are agents cloaked in immunity, operating beyond reach, weaving webs of influence and espionage under the protection of international law. Among the dossiers, photographs stand out, carefully hidden blackmail material targeting influential officials and their families. Images captured in moments of vulnerability, accompanied by detailed notes on weaknesses and fears. These documents unveil a system of coercion designed to ensure compliance, to silence dissent, and to keep powerful voices muted. The atmosphere in the operations room thickens with tension as Traore and his closest aides listen to intercepted audio recordings recovered from encrypted devices. Voices, once muffled and indistinct, now clear. High-ranking foreign officials negotiating backroom deals, strategizing the undermining of Burkina Faso's government, plotting to maintain control over mineral resources and military influence. A recorded conversation plays, fraught with veiled threats and cold pragmatism. The words are unmistakable, a calculated effort to destabilize, to weaken Traore's rising influence, and to keep Burkina Faso tethered to external interests. The weight of betrayal presses down on Traore's shoulders. It is no longer a matter of economic exploitation alone. It is an assault on the very idea of autonomy. Each recording, each document, each camera uncovered is a testament to the meticulous, decades-long campaign to erode a nation's sovereignty without firing a single shot. Outside the sealed hold, the city hums with life, unaware of the invisible battles being fought beneath the diplomatic jet. But within this confined space, the fragile illusion of control is unraveling rapidly. Traore's team moves methodically, knowing that every second counts. Each discovery tightens the noose around those who have profited from the silence and submission of Burkina Faso. For Traore, this moment is deeply personal. He recalls the faces of officials whose names appear repeatedly in these files, those who have colluded with foreign interests at the expense of their own people. His expression hardens. The fight is no longer abstract. It is about justice, accountability, and reclaiming the nation's dignity. As the sun reaches its zenith, the final pieces fall into place. The espionage network, once a hidden force operating in shadows, is now exposed to the relentless light of day. The evidence is overwhelming. The battle lines are drawn. And yet, the true challenge lies ahead. Traore knows the path forward will be fraught with danger. The forces arrayed against him are powerful, well-connected, and ruthless. But for the first time, the people of Burkina Faso hold the truth in their hands. The narrative of a country long subdued is breaking. From these revelations will rise a new chapter, one written not by foreign powers, but by the hands of those who call this land home. In the stillness of the operations room, amidst the scattered documents and flickering monitors, Ibrahim Traoré's gaze lingers on an unassuming folder, weathered, bound with a fragile leather strap. Inside lies more than paper. It carries the weight of history, pain, and an unbroken dream. The name Thomas Sankara echoes through the room like a whispered legend. Sankara, the revolutionary, the visionary, the man who dared to imagine a free Burkina Faso, had been cut down decades ago, his promise violently silenced, but his spirit remained, an invisible thread weaving through every corner of the nation's struggle for autonomy. Traoré studies the classified operation plans unearthed from the cargo, once buried, now unearthed from the shadows. They detail the covert orchestration behind Sankara's assassination. Names, dates, and movements meticulously recorded, revealing the dark hand of foreign interests colluding to extinguish a flame too bright, a voice too loud. The documents speak of manipulation at the highest levels. Foreign governments infiltrating Burkina Faso's military and intelligence services, fomenting division and chaos to weaken Sankara's government. They expose a carefully choreographed campaign to destabilize not only Sankara's presidency, but the very ideals he embodied. As the team pores over these revelations, an emotional current runs through the room. Sankara's legacy is no longer just a story told in hushed tones, it is a battle cry. His vision of sovereignty, equality, and dignity becomes the rallying point for those committed to reclaiming their nation. Traoré's voice rises, steady and reverent. Sankara showed us the path, not one without sacrifice, but one of unwavering hope. We stand on his shoulders now, carrying forward his unfinished work. But with this newfound clarity comes increased danger. The uncovering of Sankara's assassination plans triggers threats, quiet, insidious warnings whispered through shadowy channels. Traoré and his allies find themselves marked, their lives under scrutiny from enemies both within and beyond Burkina Faso's borders. The stakes escalate. What began as a mission to recover stolen wealth now unfolds as a struggle for the soul of a nation. The forces arrayed against Traoré are not only protecting illicit riches, but defending a long-standing order built on betrayal and control. The team works feverishly, knowing every moment counts. The realization dawns that the fight for Burkina Faso's sovereignty is far from over. It is, in many ways, just beginning. The weight of history presses heavily on Traoré's shoulders, but it also steels his resolve. Sankara's dream is not a relic of the past. It is a living, breathing promise, and as long as there are those willing to fight, it cannot be extinguished. Outside, the city moves forward, but inside the fortified walls, a quiet storm gathers. The echoes of a fallen leader stir the hearts of many, igniting a flame that will burn through darkness and oppression. The battle for Burkina Faso's future is no longer just political or economic. It is profoundly personal. It is a fight to honor those who gave everything for freedom, and to secure a tomorrow where their sacrifices were not in vain. And in the silence that follows, one truth rings clear. The legacy of Thomas Sankara will guide the nation's awakening, fueling a resistance that will not falter. The moment had arrived. A moment long awaited, long feared, and yet inevitable. As Ibrahim Traoré stepped before the cameras that would beam his voice across the nation, the weight of history settled around him like a mantle. Behind him the walls bore witness to the painstaking work done in secrecy. Maps, photographs, piles of documents that collectively told the story of a nation betrayed and robbed. His voice, steady but charged with purpose, carried the truth to millions. Today, we reveal what was hidden for too long. The stolen gold, the secret deals, the lies, Our sovereignty is not for sale. Burkina Faso belongs to its people. Across the country, screens flickered to life in homes, markets, and public squares. Citizens, many who had felt powerless for decades, now listened with growing disbelief and then fierce determination. The floodgates of truth had opened, and with them a tide of awakening surged through the land. Streets that once echoed only with daily routine now pulsed with life and energy. Flags of Burkina Faso, red, green, and gold, fluttered proudly in the hands of thousands. Chanting voices swelled in unison. Calls for justice, for freedom, for a future reclaimed from the shadows of exploitation. This was more than protest. It was a collective awakening. From miners whose hands had unearthed wealth they never shared, to teachers who had seen generations denied education, to workers whose sweat built a nation that others claimed, each found a voice, a story, a shared resolve. The streets overflowed with faces marked by hardship, but lit by hope. Mothers held their children close, while elders, who had lived through coups and betrayals, nodded with cautious optimism. The unity was palpable, electric, a force that transcended language, tribe, and class. The ripples extended far beyond Burkina Faso's borders. Neighboring nations watched closely, some inspired, others unsettled. Solidarity protests erupted across West Africa, voices rising in a chorus against the persistent grip of neo-colonial exploitation. The movement that began here, at the heart of the continent, resonated with those who had long suffered similar fates. In villages and cities, stories surfaced. The miner who had toiled under the hot sun only to see his village deprived of basic necessities. The teacher who had labored to educate children while school buildings crumbled. The nurse who witnessed patients turned away because of lack of funding. Their lives, intertwined with the stolen gold and hidden contracts, now became the living proof of a system rigged against the people. Yet, amidst the fervour, there was a sober recognition. This awakening was the start of a long journey. The path ahead was uncertain, fraught with challenges both internal and external. But the collective spirit, forged in years of struggle and pain, had been ignited. Traoré's leadership was no longer a matter of military command, but of inspiring a nation to reclaim itself. He addressed crowds not just as a general, but as a symbol of resilience, a beacon of hope amid a landscape scarred by decades of foreign domination. The streets filled with song and protest, but also with planning and purpose. Community leaders organized assemblies, youth groups formed networks, and workers' unions declared their demands. This was not a spontaneous uprising, but a coordinated surge, a nation rising with intent and clarity. Meanwhile, the corridors of power in neighboring capitals hummed with uneasy conversations. The region's old guard, long complicit in the system, faced mounting pressure from their own people. The balance of power was shifting, and the consequences would be profound. In Burkina Faso, the air was thick with anticipation. The gold and documents recovered were not merely symbols. They were the foundation of a new national narrative, one that demanded justice, reparations, and sovereignty. As dusk settled over Ouagadougou, the city's heartbeat quickened. The night was alive with the energy of change. And in that moment, the people of Burkina Faso understood. They were no longer victims of history, but authors of their own destiny. The awakening was real. The nation had risen. The reverberations of Burkina Faso's bold revelation rippled far beyond its borders, shaking the polished halls of Paris and echoing through the corridors of power in Europe and beyond. What began as a midnight raid at Ouagadougou's airport now crystallized into a seismic diplomatic crisis, one that exposed not only decades of plunder, but challenged the very assumptions of international relations in West Africa. Within the labyrinthine offices of the French government, a storm was brewing. The news of Traore's team uncovering secret gold shipments, bribery networks, and espionage devices ignited fierce debates among ministers and diplomats. Some urged immediate retaliation, branding Traore's actions as reckless and provocative. Others, more wary, recognized the shifting tides, the awakening of a proud nation demanding respect and justice. Backroom power struggles unfolded with fierce intensity. The old guard clung to narratives of control and influence, while emerging voices called for recalibration, a recognition that the old systems of neo-colonial dominance were unsustainable. The French president convened emergency meetings, intelligence agencies scrambled to assess the fallout, and diplomatic cables flew in urgent bursts. Against this backdrop, emissaries were dispatched to Ouagadougou under the scrutiny of a watching world. Their mission was clear but delicate: to negotiate a resolution that could salvage France's interests without further igniting the flames of resistance. Ibrahim Traoré, now the face of Burkina Faso's renewed sovereignty, prepared to face these emissaries not as a supplicant, but as a leader, backed by undeniable evidence and the fierce will of his people. The negotiations would be broadcast live, a historic first, an unprecedented transparency that raised the stakes for all involved. The first sessions crackled with tension. Diplomatic pleasantries masked deep-seated distrust. France's representatives pressed for diplomatic immunity, appeals to international law, and promises of cooperation. Traoré responded with unyielding clarity. No more exploitation, no more hidden contracts, no more foreign military presence without consent. The exchanges were sharp. Demands clashed with reluctant concessions. Each side maneuvered carefully, aware that the world watched every word, every gesture. The fragile balance of power tipped as Burkina Faso asserted its right to control its resources and chart its own course. In the streets of Ouagadougou, citizens gathered around radios and televisions, following the negotiations with rapt attention. For many, this was more than diplomacy. It was the tangible embodiment of their struggle for freedom. Slogans transformed into chants of encouragement for Traoré, their leader standing firm against a long history of domination. The ripple effect intensified. Neighboring governments, once passive, began voicing cautious support for Burkina Faso's demands. The tide of public opinion shifted decisively towards solidarity against neo-colonial exploitation, shaking regional alliances and forcing a reckoning across West Africa. Hours turned into days. The negotiations strained under the weight of history, economics, and power. Yet, gradually, cracks appeared in the resistance of France's representatives. Concessions were made. Exploitative contracts would be reviewed and ended, foreign military bases would close, and respect for Burkina Faso's sovereignty would be paramount. The agreement, while fragile and incomplete, marked a turning point. It was a peace forged not from weakness, but from the courage to confront entrenched injustice. Traoré's voice rang clear, signaling a new era. As the final documents were signed and the emissaries prepared to depart, the mood in Ouagadougou was electric but cautious. The victory was real but precarious. The fight for true independence had entered a new phase, one of vigilance, negotiation, and unwavering resolve. The diplomatic battle had been won, but the war for Burkina Faso's future was far from over. The scars of exploitation ran deep, and those who had long benefited from the old order would not yield without resistance. Yet, for now, a fragile peace offered a glimpse of what could be, a nation sovereign and free, its wealth no longer stolen, but used to build a future of hope and dignity. The dawn of a new era stretched over Burkina Faso, a landscape marked by the scars of past betrayals, but shimmering with the promise of renewal. The immediate aftermath of the diplomatic victory was not a quiet reprieve. It was the beginning of an immense and daunting task, rebuilding a nation fractured by decades of exploitation and foreign interference. Ibrahim Traoré's administration moved swiftly and decisively. The reclaimed gold and recovered funds, once secreted away in distant vaults, were funneled into programs that touched every corner of the country. Schools, once dilapidated and under-resourced, began to reopen their doors with new classrooms and teaching materials. Hospitals, long starved of funding, saw the arrival of essential medical equipment and trained staff. Roads that connected rural villages to cities, long neglected and impassable during the rainy seasons, were rebuilt. Job programs sprouted, giving employment not just to urban dwellers, but to the youth in remote communities, offering a lifeline away from despair and unrest. But the victories came with sharp reminders of fragility. Whispers of discontent among certain military factions soon surfaced, and a foiled coup attempt sent a clear message. Freedom and sovereignty were precious, but perilous. The internal fissures sown by years of foreign manipulation had not healed overnight. Traoré's government had to remain vigilant, aware that threats could emerge from within as easily as from without. The national mood oscillated between celebration and caution. Streets that had recently erupted with chants of liberation were now places where citizens gathered to rebuild trust in their institutions. There was pride in the tangible progress, but also a keen understanding that the journey toward lasting independence required constant vigilance. A new symbol of this hard-won victory emerged in the form of a national museum established in Ouagadougou's heart. It housed the recovered treasures, the gold bars, the confidential documents, the espionage devices, all displayed not as trophies, but as solemn reminders of the struggle endured. Here, ordinary people came to witness the tangible proof of what had been taken and what had been reclaimed. Visitors walked slowly through the exhibits, many with eyes glistening with tears. A miner, whose hands had once extracted the country's gold only to see it vanish, stood quietly before the bars now proudly displayed. An elderly teacher touched the pages of a recovered ledger, imagining the countless children who would now learn because of this restored wealth. Testimonies gathered throughout the country spoke of hope and determination. A mother described how her children now had access to clean water and schooling for the first time. A young man shared his dream of building a future free from the shadows of foreign interference. These voices formed a chorus of resilience, a testament to a nation refusing to be defined by past injustices. Yet, beneath the surface of celebration, Traoré and his team knew that the path ahead was still riddled with dangers. The forces that had once sought to dominate Burkina Faso remained active, their networks sprawling and patient. The administration fortified its intelligence and security operations, determined to protect the sovereignty that had been so fiercely reclaimed. In government halls and community centres, the emphasis shifted toward unity, bridging divides, empowering local leadership, and fostering transparency. The old hierarchies, often complicit in the exploitation, were dismantled. New systems of accountability began to take root, signalling a transformative shift in governance. The people of Burkina Faso, weary yet hopeful, understood that freedom was not a destination but a continuous struggle, a promise renewed each day. As the nation moved forward, the recovered gold ceased to be a mere symbol of past theft. It became a foundation, a fuel for education, health and infrastructure, a resource to be protected fiercely and used wisely. And through it all, the spirit of resilience that had carried them through the darkest nights remained unbroken, guiding Burkina Faso toward a future once only dreamed of. The first light of morning spills softly over Ouagadougou, painting the city in warm hues of gold and amber. From the balcony of the presidential residence, Ibrahim Traoré stands alone, his silhouette framed against the awakening skyline. In his hands, he holds a worn photograph, faded but powerful, a portrait of Thomas Sankara, the revolutionary whose vision had inspired generations before him. Traore's gaze is steady, filled with the weight of history and the clarity of purpose. The city below stirs to life, its streets beginning to hum with the rhythms of a people reclaiming their destiny. Children run past, their laughter ringing clear, innocent and unburdened, symbols of a future forged in hard-won freedom. His voice, calm and resolute, breaks the silence. Our gold, our future, our freedom, not just reclaimed, but fiercely protected. Beyond the walls of government, in the heart of the city, a child stands before the newly opened National Museum. Eyes wide with wonder, the child gazes at the exhibits. Gold bars that once vanished into foreign hands, documents that reveal decades of betrayal, the tools of espionage that had threatened to silence a nation. But here, everything is transformed. The stolen treasures now tell a story of resilience, unity, and rebirth, a story that belongs to all Burkinabe. As the camera pulls back, the child's bright eyes reflect the hope of countless souls, the future of a sovereign Burkina Faso, bold and unshaken. The music swells, uplifting and steady, a melody of strength and renewal. The scene fades slowly into the horizon, where the vast sky meets the earth, limitless and open. This is not an end. It is a beginning. A new dawn for Burkina Faso. In the face of injustice and exploitation, Burkina Faso's story is a powerful reminder. Sovereignty and dignity are hard won, and freedom demands vigilance and courage. Now, more than ever, the world must listen, learn, and stand in solidarity with nations reclaiming their futures. Support efforts that promote transparency, empower local leadership, and challenge neo-colonial exploitation wherever it persists. Raise awareness, demand accountability from corporations and governments profiting from hidden plunder. Celebrate and amplify the voices of those who resist. Because true freedom is not given, it is reclaimed. And together, we can help build a world where every nation's wealth belongs to its people. Stand with Burkina Faso. Stand for justice. Stand for sovereignty. The fight continues, and your voice matters.